Giant Baba Mahansa Bhagavatam Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Bhagavatam Vandara Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnu Paramahansa Bhagavatam Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glory to the Son of the devotees. All glory to the Son of the devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Verse 21. Shri Rupini Kavanayati Charanara Vindam.
Shri Rupini Kavanayati Charanara Vindam.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Samlakshate Papi Swatap. Prabhu, you want to do this?
Samlakshate Spatika Kunya Upeta Himni.
Samlakshate Spatika Kunya Upeta Himni.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Samlakshate Spatika Kunya Upeta Hemni.
Samlakshate Spatika Kunya Upeta Hemni.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Sammarjativa Yadanugrahane Neya Yatna.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Sammarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Shri Rupini Kvanayati Charanara Vindam.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Lilam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Samlakshate Spatika Kudya Upeta Hemni.
Samarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Samarjativa Yadanu Grahanenya Yatnaha.
Okay, so word for word. Shri,
Shri
Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune.
Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune.
Rupani,
Rupani,
assuming a beautiful form.
assuming a beautiful form.
How do you say this word?
Kvanayati.
Kavanayati.
Kvanayati.
Tinkling.
Tinkling.
Charan Aravindam.
Charanara
Lotus feet.
Lotus feet.
Lila Ambunjena.
Lila Mujena.
Playing with the lotus flower.
Playing with the lotus flower.
Hari Sadmani,
Hari Samani.
the house of the Supreme Personality.
The house of the Supreme Personality.
Mukta Dosha,
Mukta Dosha.
freed from all faults.
Free from all faults.
Samlakshyate,
Samlakshate.
becomes visible.
Becomes visible.
Spatika,
Spatika.
crystal.
Crystal.
Kudye,
Kudye.
walls.
Walls.
Upeta,
Upeta.
mixed.
Mixed.
Himni,
Himni.
gold.
Gold.
Samarjati Eva,
Samarjativa.
appearing like a sweeper.
Appearing like a sweeper.
Yat Anugrahane,
Yad Anugrahane.
to receive her favor.
To receive her favor.
Anya,
Anya.
others.
Others.
Yatnaha,
Yatna.
very much careful.
Very much careful.
Translation. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders, in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Supreme Lord, Govinda, is always served in his abode by many, many millions of goddesses of fortune. Lakshmi, Sahasra, Shata, Sambrahma, Save, Mahanam. Brahma Samhita 529. These millions and trillions of goddesses of fortune who reside in the Vaikuntha planets are not exactly consorts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but are the wives of the devotees of the Lord, and also engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated here that in the Vaikuntha planets the houses are made of marble. Similarly, in the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the ground on the Vaikuntha planets is made of touchstone. Thus there is no need to sweep the stone in Vaikuntha, for there is hardly any dust on it. But still, in order to satisfy the Lord, the ladies there always engage in dusting the marble walls. Why? The reason is that they are eager to achieve the grace of the Lord by doing so. It is also stated here that in the Vaikuntha planets, the goddesses of fortune are faultless. Generally, the goddess of fortune does not remain steadily in one place. Her name is Chanchala, which means one who is not steady. We find, therefore, that a man who is very rich may become the poorest of the poor. Another example is Ravana. Ravana took away Lakshmi, Sitaji, to his kingdom, and instead of being happy by the grace of Lakshmi, his family and his kingdom were vanquished. Thus Lakshmi in the house of Ravana is Chanchala, or unsteady. Men of Ravana's class want Lakshmi only without her husband, Narayana. Therefore they become unsteady due to Lakshmiji. Materialistic persons find fault on the part of Lakshmi, but in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi-ji is fixed in the service of the Lord. In spite of her being the goddess of fortune, she cannot be happy without the grace of the Lord. Even the goddess of fortune needs the Lord's grace in order to be happy. Yet in the material world, even Brahma, the highest created being, seeks the favor of Lakshmi for happiness. Amagyana Timarandasya Gananjanan Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, in the spiritual realm, there are many beautiful women, as this verse states, and beautiful men too. And if we want to enjoy them for our own amusement, like those with sexual conditioning in the material realm want to enjoy the physical beauty of the opposite sex's body for their own amusement, if we have that desire, then we can't go there, because that's not the mood in the spiritual realm. So, of course, we all know that at this point, I'm sure. So our problem is that we're trying to enjoy God's energies. That's why we're here in this material realm. I mean, we're trying to be God. We're trying to be the controller of His energies. We're trying to pretend like they're our energies under our control and for our amusement. But okay, there's the obvious thing that matter. Okay, I want to control a fancy car. I want to control a house. I want to control money. I want to control matter, atoms and molecules. And that's like an obvious one that we can all understand. But we're not just trying to control the Bahiranga Shakti, or the external energy, or the material energy. We're also trying to control Krishna's Tatastha Shakti, his Jiva category of energy. So this is a little bit more subtle, and it takes longer to detect the subtleties. I mean, okay, trying to enjoy money, that's like an obvious thing that Bhakti Joe Schmo can learn on the first day. By the way, Bhakti Joey should be here today, right? Bhakti Joe.
I don't know.
I think he's coming today.
He's not an ordinary Joe Schmo.
Yeah, he's not Bhakti Joe Schmo, he's Bhakti Joe. Bhakti Joey. So anybody can understand that. It's like so obvious, wanting to exploit money or possessions or physical objects. So, but we're trying to, someone with a material mindset is at all moments trying to exploit and control and enjoy the souls around them. Now it's very subtle. So I'm sure we've all experienced during a conversation that we just want to hear ourselves talk. Like the other person's talking, but we're just like impatiently waiting for them to stop talking so that we can keep talking. And really we don't want to hear what they have to say. We just want to like hear ourselves talk, and we want them to like glorify us and tell us how wonderful everything we are saying is. Or at least display the body language or the subtle acknowledgement of how great everything that's coming out of our mouth is. So that way we're trying to extract, we're trying to exploit, we're trying to mine honor and prestige and attention out of other jivas. And just in everyday interactions, we expect a certain amount of respect, and if we don't get it, we get upset. Just in our everyday dealings with people, we are trying to exploit each other for respect, and trying to subtly be the center of attention, ultimately. Even when walking and sitting, we try to walk in a dignified way. We try to sit in a dignified way. We're conscious of how we're sitting. Do we look cool? Do we look like we're intelligent? Our facial expressions, we're constantly monitoring all these things. Why? Because we want to be the center of attention. We're subtly trying to extract honor and prestige out of other jivas. We're trying to use other jivas as our servants. We want them to fan us, and we want them to glorify us and bow down to us and massage our feet and bathe our feet and drink the water afterwards. On a subtle level.
That's a little too far.
On a subtle level, we're trying to do that. We want to be the center of attention, because we're trying to imitate God. So at every moment, when we're at material conditioning, at every moment, we're not just trying to exploit matter. Even every materialist, everywhere they look, the purpose of their glancing in any direction in any direction all day long is looking for things to enjoy and exploit, or living entities to enjoy and exploit. No matter where they look and what direction, the minute they open their eyes in the morning, they're immediately looking around for objects to enjoy and exploit, or people to enjoy and exploit, and all day long, everywhere they look. And I even catch myself doing that. If out of my peripheral vision, I see someone who appears to be an old person, I won't look at them. But if I have my periphery of my vision, if I see someone who appears to be a beautiful young woman, I'll look at her. I'll remove her from the periphery of my vision to the focal point of my vision. Why? Because I want to enjoy and exploit her body. But I don't care about an old person's body. They're not there for and it's not enjoyable to me. So the desire to want to be noticed or to stand out is itself envy. If we want to be noticed, like right now I'm sitting here on the Vyasana, so I want to be noticed for how smart I think I am. So I want everybody to notice how smart I am. So that's envy of all you guys, unfortunately. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. I've got a long ways to go. So the desire to be noticed, or the desire to be noticed for our dancing, or desire to be noticed for any reason, is envy of other living entities. Because we want to be on top, and we want them to be on the bottom. When we speculate, that's envy. Speculation is, I want to be known for coming up with something new, all on my own, Why? Because I want everybody to put me up on a pedestal and glorify me as being a great imitation of God, and I want them all to realize that they're not as smart as I am. That's the mentality that is in our mind when we speculate. That's one reason the acharyas say don't speculate. Also, the other reason is you're likely to get it wrong and just make a bigger donkey out of yourself. Not wanting to serve others is envy. When I'm in a grouchy, irritable, hate everybody kind of mood, like tamasic mood, which many of us, except for maybe like Prabhu and New Balaram get in or whatever, and a few others. But when I'm in one of those moods, I don't want to serve anybody. I don't want to hear anybody's praises. I don't want to say anything nice to anybody. I don't want to lift a finger to help anybody. Someone asks me, "Oh, hey, Prabhu, can you help me for a minute?" I just want to bark at them. When I'm in one of those moods, I don't want to serve anybody because I'm in an envious, low conscious mood. Mood, yeah. And when I'm in a little bit more Krishna conscious mood, then sometimes I actually like to hear the glories of devotees. It's very rare, but every once in a while. And when someone's like, "Hey, Prabhu, can you help me?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah," and I feel excited to help them. That's because my material envy has subsided slightly by Krishna's mercy, and I'm in a slightly more Krishna conscious mood. So not wanting to serve is envy. Feeling disturbed when others are praised is gross envy. And most of the time I feel disturbed when others are praised. It's bad, it's really bad, but it's just how it is. Sorry, Krishna. But yeah, and when we hear someone get glorified and we feel envious, that's gross envy. So yeah, we should be aware of these things at all times. We should be aware of, in our interactions with others, we should be aware of where we're at, what we're thinking, what's the subtleties of our consciousness. When I first started my spiritual path when I was 16, I remember studying Buddhism. And the one thing I remember from Buddhism, one thing I took from it is watch your mind very carefully and see, when you get angry, why did you become angry? If you're sad, why are you sad? And look for the root source, the root psychological state that's producing this superficial, surface psychological state. And to this day, I find that to be a very valuable lesson. So I think would help us to be aware of that. And so, you could divide living entities in a billion different categories, however you like, but one simple way is atheists and theists. So the atheists are just grossly trying to exploit matter and exploit other living entities. But the theists, most theists in Kali Yuga, because of the degraded nature of this age, are actually trying to exploit God directly. So the atheists don't believe in God, and they're not directly trying to exploit God. They want to exploit his energies. But the theists believe that there is a God, and they're directly trying to exploit him. So God give me my daily bread. God, can you? Or in India, they do pujas. You buy a new car, and they have the priest kind of do a puja for it. Bless your car. God, please bless my car, so my sense gratification expeditions can be auspicious.
We did that here.
Really?
Tell you about it later.
So, God, serve me. God, can you please come here and serve me and be my waiter and massage my feet and drink the bath water and as you bathe my feet, God, please. And because you have a million hands, you can do all these services for me, so make yourself useful. That's it's really bad, but that is actually the underlying mentality of most quote-unquote theists in the world to some degree. I mean, it's not a black and white thing. There's mixtures of devotion versus exploitation in everybody's mentality. In fact, if you actually look carefully at most religions in the world, they're not really truly theistic. They're actually impersonal in many ways. Many Christians, Muslims, or Jews, you ask them, okay, what is God and who is God? Give me a definition of God. Most of them will say, oh, well, God is just this love energy, or God is just this white light energy, or God is just some impersonal explanation, almost all of them. Very few of them will say, oh, well, God is an infinitely beautiful person who has friends and family members and has activities and pastimes. Very few of them will acknowledge that God is actually a person. And impersonalism is born of envy. Impersonalism is a sign of envy. We don't want God to be a person because then we're envious of him. At most, if we say that there is some sort of controlling, all-powerful, semi-consciousness, semi-love energy out there, then it's not a person like us that, God can't have women, only we can have women or men. And God can't have possessions, only we can have possessions. So it's like envy. We don't want... Impersonalism is born from envy of God. So if we have any of these psychological tendencies that I just went over in us, then we should realize that we have bad character to some degree. Again, it's not black and white. There's mixtures. And if we realize that we have bad character, then we should realize that we are very fallen and we're not great devotees. If we realize we're very fallen and not great devotees, then we will automatically become humble. And humility, if it's not the foundation of, then it's certainly a major building block in the foundation for giving up envy. Humility is ultimately crucial. So, if we're humble and therefore not envious, when we talk to someone, we're not entering the conversation with the mentality of, I want to hear myself talk, I want them to talk as little as possible, I want me to talk as much as possible, or I want them to amuse me. When I talk to Dr. Larry, I want him to make funny jokes so I can be amused for my own amusement, because I don't really care about Larry, I just want to hear him entertain me with jokes, like a court gesture. Like if we have that mentality, then we have the wrong mentality. Or we want someone to entertain us with their conversation. Now, someone with a humble service attitude mentality will be like, how can I say something inspiring or uplifting to this person? How can I say something funny? If this person's in a depressed mood, how can I say something funny to perk them up, to cheer them up? Or how can I somehow serve this person with my words, with my conversation? That's what we'll be thinking, and then we won't be so eager to talk. If the natural course of the conversation flows in such a way where the other person does most of the talking and we do most of the listening and learning, we're totally happy with it. If the natural course of the conversation flows in such a way where, like, we're talking to a newer devotee and we end up doing most of the talking, we're totally happy with that too. Because it's all done in a service attitude. We're not attached to the direction the conversation goes in. We're just trying to serve in any way possible. We should be aware of that when we're interacting with others. That are we trying to exploit them or are we trying to serve them? Do we have a serving mentality? And when someone disrespects us, which someone will disrespect, every single person in this room will be disrespected at some point, many, many times probably in their lifetime, guaranteed. Honor and respect will come and go, and they'll be honored too. Every single one of us will be honored. So when someone disrespects us, if we're humble and non-envious, they will be like, oh yeah, you're right, I am a jerk. I've totally been a jerk my whole life. You're right. I totally deserve to be disrespected. I've disrespected so many people. Because I will wager that every single person in this room has disrespected somebody in their life. And so therefore, if someone disrespects us, then we shouldn't complain, right? So someone who's humble and non-envious, they won't complain if they get disrespected. And ultimately, if we're a devotee, we'll see it as Krishna's mercy. Oh, Krishna's trying to teach me tolerance. So then we won't hold a grudge. If we're holding a grudge against, if anybody in this room is holding a grudge against anybody right at this moment, if they have some constant ongoing feud with any devotees or anything like that on any level, then that means they're not looking at their own faults. That means they're thinking that they're some great saint and they're thinking that this other person is a jerk. And they're not seeing their own faults. Whereas if we're honest And humility, honesty and humility go hand in hand. Because if you're not humble, then you won't be honest with yourself. You just tell yourself what you want to hear about yourself. But if you're humble, then you'll actually be honest with yourself. And be like, yeah, I am a fallen rascal. So if we're holding a grudge, that means we're not being honest, we're not being humble. Again, if anybody ever disrespects us or whatever, we should see it as Krishna's mercy, we should see it as something we deserve, and we should just see it as this person is just an instrument of Krishna. And we should, like, basically anytime I ever want to criticize somebody for doing something, except for like murdering somebody. I've never murdered somebody in this life, but chances are in a previous life I probably have, if you consider like millions of lives. So even then we're being a hypocrite if we try to judge somebody for being a murderer. But in this life, I mean, pretty much any bad thing the average person does, I've done 1 billion times. And pretty much in the past week, I've done it like 1 billion times, whatever like bad thing anybody does to me. So I should remember that, and shouldn't begrudge them. And it's also not enough to just have this vague idea in our head that I'm fallen, but we should actually be meditating on how we're fallen. We should be like, yeah, yesterday I was rude to that devotee. And 5 days ago, yeah, I did skip out on my service. And we should be constantly meditating on the specifics, because if we just have a vague idea in our head that, oh, I'm fallen, then it's not really tangible, it's not really real, we won't really believe it. Just like some vague, blind faith. But if we're actually meditating on a regular basis, or trying to constantly remember our faults on a regular basis, and the specifics of them, then when someone does that exact same thing to us, then we'll be like, wow, I did that a few days ago, so I can't get all mad. So if we can somehow manage to become humble and give up our envy in this way by carefully analyzing ourselves and being honest with ourselves, if we have it all comes to sincerity. If we have a sincere desire to grow, then Krishna will show us our faults. And if we have a sincere desire to look at our faults, but if we're not seeing our own faults, that means we don't want to see them. We're not really sincere about giving up our anarthas. And so therefore Krishna, out of his compassion, he won't show us our faults because we don't want to see them. But if we sincerely want to see our faults and therefore become humble and give up our envy of others, then Krishna will, without a doubt, help us. Because it's all a soul's sincerity. If a soul has a wishy-washy desire to be a devotee and a somewhat desire to be a materialist, then Krishna will send that devotee to a Sahajya group, a Sahajya guru. Some wishy-washy devotees that aren't really serious devotees. Like there's many branches that are divided off the Gaudiya Vaishnava tree, deviant groups. It's a whole big discussion to go into, but there's many deviant groups that have philosophies that are off, spiritual practices that are off, and so therefore the souls in those groups aren't making much advancement. They're often making a lot of offenses. So why do some souls end up getting sucked into those groups and other souls end up getting sucked into ISKCON or maybe a more serious Gaudiya Vaishnava society? Is because of their sincerity. If that soul is insincere about really becoming a devotee, then Krishna will send them to a wishy-washy group, and they can pretend to be devotees while really being materialists. The fact that we're in ISKCON means that pretty much, not necessarily always, that most of us are actually serious. And then within ISKCON, there's degrees of seriousness also. But again, it all comes down to our sincerity. If we're actually serious about knowing the truth, and in being called out on our faults, it hurts in the moment, but in the long run, it saves you from so much suffering. It's worth a little bit of a pinprick in the moment to be saved from a sledgehammer to the kneecap in the future or whatever. It's so worth it. But we're scared. We're scared of that little pinprick of having our faults pointed out to us because it hurts. It hurts the ego in the moment. But it's well worth it. And we should also have courage and be real. Do we want the truth, or do we want to be fake and lame for the rest of our lives? Or do we want to do we really want the truth no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it challenges us? Do we want that, or do we just want to be wishy-washy and lame for the rest of our lives? That's something we have to sit down and ask ourselves. So if we can manage to go through this process of anartha nivritti, giving up our anarthas, giving up our envy and our lust and anger and greed and all these things, then we can go back to the spiritual realm and we can be surrounded by beautiful people and not try to lust over them. We can be surrounded by opulence and not try to exploit it for our own selves. And then we can just be cool people. Because if you're a materialist, you're not cool. And if you're a Paramahamsa devotee, then you're just like a cool person. You're just like a reasonable, rational, sane, cool person in their natural, healthy state of consciousness. And right now, in the material realm, those of us who aren't devotees like me are crazy and lazy and unreasonable and irrational and not cool, and so we don't want to be like that for the rest of eternity. I don't. So, are there any comments or questions?
I have one comment.
Yes.
It's interesting that the goddesses of fortune here, all beautiful, transcendentally beautiful ladies, are so eager to clean that they just sweep the walls, even though there's hardly any dirt on them. I mean, Prabhu says, actually, there's no dirt. Whereas here we have the opposite reaction. So we should try to imitate or emulate these wonderful goddesses of fortune who are looking for ways to clean. It creates like what atmosphere.
Yeah. There's this big puddle of sludge right next to the pot washing sink that's been percolating there for weeks, and then nobody's cleaned it at all. Just I'm guilty too. I look at it every day and just whatever. So anyway.
Puddle of sludge.
Yeah, some primordial soup. It's not pretty.
Another Prabhu has a.
Yes, Prabhu.
Well, when was the last time we dusted our temple?
Yeah.
Probably never.
No, we used to have a lot of cleanups.
I dusted sometimes.
Oh, really? Okay, how often?
Once a week.
Once a week we dust the walls?
We used to.
We used to.
Should. Yeah, now. We should have a
And the floor can be, we need some better system than a wet vacuum and a squeegee to pick up the dirt.
Yeah, it should be cleaned every day. It was Krishna's temple floor.
It's too bad we can't squeeze, there's no way to push the water off the floor like we do in, India, but a way to get the dirt up is. Anyways, I can give some tips. I used to be a professional floor cleaner. But we need equipment. That's going to cost, We could polish these tiles.
We need equipment or many eager hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some scrub brushes and some wax and so many things that could get this thing shining.
Bottom?
Yeah, you were saying we should meditate on our fallen. You're saying fallen position, and sometimes the details of that, how we're fallen. But sometimes, just asking. This is a question. Sometimes, while doing that, there's a tendency to become discouraged, fallen. So I can't give the class, right? I can't wash the pots, I can't cook the offering, I can't sing the Sunday feast kirtan, I can't do anything. And sometimes devotees do that actually, but of course, how would anything go on if everybody thinks like that? So obviously, but so how do we balance that out, the idea of meditating on our fallen nature and then also meditating on Krishna? Because that's actually meditating on Krishna, that's how we get out of our fallen nature, so how we balance that.
Yeah, we just have to. The three modes. We should analyze ourselves. So if we're meditating on our faults to the point where we're getting all depressed, that's another actually aspect of envy, because there's the 6 main opulences or whatever.
6.
What are they again?
Wealth, knowledge,
Fame, strength.
No.
Renunciation.
So the conditioned souls are trying to be the center. So like the beautiful girl is trying to be the center of attention in the room by being the most beautiful. The smart guy is trying to be the center of attention by being smart. The big tough guy by being the strongest. So if a soul doesn't have any of those things, the soul's like ugly. They have an ugly body. They're a dumb mental body. They're physically weak. They're poor. All these things. Then
They got nothing, huh?
yeah, then their strategy for trying to be the center of attention in the room is, oh hey everybody, feel sorry for me. I'm so depressed. You know, everybody feel bad for me. And that's their strategy for trying to be the center of attention. So if we meditate on our faults to the point where we get all tamasic and depressed, then we should see that's just another trap of Maya. That's just, again, we're just trying to like be envious of others, trying to be the center of attention. Hey everybody, look how depressed I am. Pat me on the back, feel sorry for me. So yeah, we should not allow ourselves to get into like a tamasic state of inertia where we don't do anything. But we should realize like, yeah, I'm fallen, but our meditation of how fallen we are should induce us to try harder. That's what it should do. It should induce us to try harder. And it shouldn't induce us to stop trying. Because if it's inducing us to stop trying, then yeah, again, we should realize we're just falling into another trap of Maya. And yeah, ultimately, we also don't want to meditate on ourselves too much, because that's another trap of Maya. That's the whole point. We're in the material realms. We're trying to meditate on ourselves as being God. And yeah, we should try to hear and chant about Krishna as much as possible, because that will actually... I mean, I've seen... There's statements in the Vedas that your conditioning can just drop instantly if you become a devotee. And I've had like glimpses of that before. Like one time, because I often feel very tired in the morning. It's just my health condition. I just feel very tired and out of it in the morning, and not a lot of enthusiasm usually. So one time I had done the Guru Puja, and I was in the back washing the Guru Puja tray, and I was thinking in my mind like, oh God, now I got to go in there. I got to go to Kirtan, and you know, just like not happy about it, just like totally moted out, like total tamagoon to the max. And I was walking down the hallway and I was just like dragging my feet, like and then just like this, it just hit me all of a sudden. Don't do it for your pleasure, do it for Krishna's pleasure. And instantly my entire consciousness changed. I just like practically ran the rest of the way down the hallway, like ran to the temple room and like danced and chanted ecstatically. I don't know, it was like Krishna's mercy that day. He was just showing me like what it could be. And the mode of ignorance just dropped instantaneously. Like a huge percentage of my anartas just like evaporated into thin air instantly. And I just shot through the roof in devotional adhikar, like, you know, temporarily, just like instantly. And so, and I've experienced this to a lesser degree in other situations, that yeah, the modes can drop instantly. If Krishna allows and desires it, and if we are serious enough. So then, yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. These songs, you know, the songs, the Narottam songs, the Bhakti Vinod, are very instructive in this way, because many of them have that element, self-condemnation, which is a good part of your class, you know. But then that's not all there is, and they get like, I'll just read this one song. This is one of our Prabhu's favorites, if not his favorite song, Hari Hari Vipalai. And which means, Vipala means no fruit. I've wasted my life. Janmagan, I've wasted my life uselessly. So he says, O Lord Hari, I wasted my life. Although I've taken this very human birth, I have not served Radha Krishna, unless I've knowingly drunk poison. That could be part of your class. Right? But then he says, famous line, the treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavan has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns in the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not accepted the means for relieving it. This is the mood of what you're saying. Lord Krishna, the son of Braj, became the son of Shachi, Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram became Nitya and Nityananda. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Vrishabhana of Radha, please be merciful to me now. Narottam doth praise, O Lord, please don't push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Now, the point I'm making by reading that is that we can kind of hook up into this mood, but then the whole song takes us to the conclusion, which is to, well, to pray for the mercy of the Lord in that desperate condition. Not to say, well, this is who I am, you know, I'm just too fallen. I mean, we've had 1,000 devotees bloop on that basis. The faith that, you know, I tried, but I'm just too fallen, I'm just too conditioned, you know. Or you fall into the mode of ignorance, and then it becomes more likely to make an offense in that mode, you know. And it's the offenses that really shoot you out of the temple. You know, you can muddle through self-condemnation for a long time as long as you're not offensive. But the problem is, in that mode of ignorance, you tend to your anger becomes more likely. So the point I'm making is that we should try to study these songs, sing the songs. Gopinath, the whole thing is like that, right? I'm so fallen, but that's not the end of it. Then there's the prayer, you know. Just like the famous verse by SanDiego Swami. I know those verses more than the songs. I don't have any love for you. I don't have any yogic power. I don't have any good birth. I don't have this. I don't have anything. But I do have this one unbreakable hope that you'll shower your mercy on me, and you're the most favorable to the most fallen. You know? So that has to come to that point of the prayer and the longing and the desperation for Krishna's mercy. Otherwise, it's just like you say, like you're in a black funk, you know, and you can never really break out of it. So that's interesting, because you really came out of it in the hallway. There, you suddenly had this realization, which is what this song is all about. You are, you know, in spite of the fact that I'm so disqualified and so fallen, but you're my only hope. Therefore, please do it. And it's like 100 songs like that. So this is Shastra. You know, this is how we can completely identify with the song, but then we have to also do what the song says, which is to pray for the mercy, to get out. Hare Krishna.
Jai Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam.
Jai.
There you go.
Anyone who goes to the you will clean up after.
They see we do really.
Feel like Jamash and Beta too. So kitchen 1 and 3. Wait, what's the other show?
This is read the Bible. Let's go over. I'm gonna go out and get some
You?
prunes.
I was gonna wait. Is there 2 for 3?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 to 5. That's better.
I'll do 3 to 5.
We got 3 people now. I need 2 people. So what are you preferring to do 3 to 5?
I prefer it. How about we can?
Do you guys rock paper scissors for it? That's
No, if it would make more
I'm kind of joking. I'm kind of serious. I don't mind. It's just more convenient. So you go into 3 then, if you don't mind. Alright. Okay, so we got marked these 3 to 5. Okay. So it's 2 to 4. We got Mr. Ryan. Oh, it's so bad. I'm not sure what you would do 110
No,
as well.
I went in.
What?
Yeah, I went in this now.
Alright. How about you, Larry? Are you helping out with the feast at all today?
Yeah, I'll help out and do the bathrooms.
Alright. You gonna be helping out. What time do you think you're gonna be there? You get some civic service for that already?
Yeah, depends if we have all the ingredients for what I need to do.
Alright. Zach, have you been doing the bhajans? Yeah. How are we going on? Okay. I think that's more or less it.
I'm gonna Pura was saying, and it really worked out. There's usually like a few guests